Hello and welcome to the third of this year's live streamed writing workshops to support the Bruntwood Prize for Playwriting, a partnership between Royal Exchange Theatre Manchester and property company Bruntwood. The prize is an opportunity for writers of any background and experience to enter unperformed plays for a prize fund totalling £40,000 and development opportunities. We are here in Manchester with these brilliant writers. I'm Rachel Delahaye, and go around, introduce yourself.
My name's Josh.
I'm Bats. I'm Ozodwa.
I'm David. I'm James.
I'm Tim.
Okay, and we are here live to the people at home, to my mom mainly, but we're here to do a workshop and on character and dialogue. Basically, character dialogue is what I was asked to kind of talk about. So I bought loads of stuff. I made loads of notes. I'm a new-ish writer, and I just kind of sat down and thought, what do I know? What wisdom could I impart? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring loads of exercises. Some of it you might like, a lot of it you might not like. But for the most part, maybe my purpose here is to basically say, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. So I'm just here to kind of boost egos. And I just thought we'd hit the ground running and do an exercise, if that's okay, because that would make me feel less nervous. And I'm going to write on my computer. I hope everyone's okay with that. But I'm going to do it alongside you. So, first exercise we're doing, literally, we're going to have two characters. We've got A and B. A is sat in a room. B walks in. A stands. I'm just going to go. I'm going to have 3 minutes. So go. A is sat in a room. B walks in. A stands. Go. Okay, who would like to share the genius that they just wrote in 3 minutes?
Okay.
Yes. So let's go for the instruction again. A sat in a room, B walks in, A stands. Go.
B. Careful. A. A. B. Be careful. A. O. B. C. A. Yes. B. Big. A. Yes. Very. B. Large. A. Yes, it is. B. Huge. A. Okay, it's fucking humongous. B. Let me do it. A. No. B. Go on. Let me pop the fuck on.
Wicked. Okay, where are we? What's going on? Who are they? Should we go first? What do we think?
Birthday party.
Birthday party. What's the fucker that they're from? I mean, I have my own. I don't want to be gross. Anyone else?
Well, they know each other.
They know each other. It's friendly. It's easy dialogue. It's familiar. Where are they?
Like, I was imagining bathroom friends with a big zit.
Yeah. That's exactly where my mind went. I don't know what that says about us.
It's exactly what it was.
Oh yeah! We won the prize.
Yeah, I'm so good.
Really? Okay, so we've got 2 friends, party, spot.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyone else get anything else from that? Any other flecks of detail?
It's quite familiar if somebody's really into puppet.
So familiar.
Yeah.
So familiar. Anyone else want to share? We'll feedback in a minute. Anyone else want to share? And it's not to be precious, it's just to have a bit of fun. Let's go.
B. She's done it again. A. Cunt. B. Don't call her that. A. Sorry. B. She has attachment issues. A. And you're like gum. You stick yourself to an object and can't get the fucker off. B. I'm. A. Don't deny it. B. I blame my father for it. A. He was a cunt too.
Nice. Who are they? Where are they? What's going on?
Well, again, familiar. You know each other.
Just the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be familiar enough to talk about your father and how he feels about, or he or she feels about your father.
I imagine there must be then some sort of space that's probably private, because you probably wouldn't use those sort of words, especially like against family, if you were in a restaurant. Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't feel.
Close space, private. Yeah. Any other character details did we get from that?
Someone has done something to someone again. It's like a repetition of bad behavior.
Go on. What were you thinking?
I just thought it's kind of 2 best friends, and one of them had the girlfriend's broken up with him because she's got attachment issues. But he's clinging to her and kind of chased her away, sort of thing.
And what room are they in?
I just thought they were like housemates or brothers.
In the same home, in the private space.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'm thinking. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go.
B. Please don't leave. A. What are you doing here? B. I'm sorry. A. I'm calling the police. B. No, you don't want to do that. B takes A's phone. A. What do you want from me? B. I want my family back. A. What if we don't want you?
Feels like it's moving. Like
Yeah.
both people, someone wants to stay in the scene, and someone wants to get out of it.
It's like trespassing almost. Like someone had imposed on someone else's space or a space that they thought was theirs but no longer is. There's definitely conflict over that. Old lovers, old families. Yeah, loved it. That's really clear. And yeah, what would you? Did you get it?
Yeah, definitely kind of families, but I was also thinking like courts.
Ah, nice, Yes, I can see that.
Ready to testify?
Okay. Okay, did you want to go?
No.
No. Why did I think you were looking at me being like, I'm ready, I'm ready?
No, I was gonna say like I will do, but then I realised I misunderstood the.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to do it again. We're going to do one more. Let's try one more and then we'll feedback. Okay, we're going to do example 2. Same kind of setup. So basically just allow the action to inform what the rest of the scene could be and decide in the moment who these characters are. So we are going to go A and B are sat next to each other on a bench. A starts laughing. B doesn't react. A stops laughing. Go. A and B is sat next to each other on a bench. A starts laughing. B doesn't react. A stops laughing. Go. Brilliant. Okay, pens down. This is like end of exam time. Okay, so what do we have? We had A and B sat on a bench. A starts laughing, B doesn't react, A stops laughing. And we did 3 minutes of writing a scene. Who would like to share it?
I'll do it, but it's a bit, yeah, okay. Okay, so A starts laughing, B doesn't react. A stops laughing, B. It's not very convincing. A starts laughing again, A stops laughing. B starts laughing, B stops laughing, B. Like that. A. Yours was just as fake. B. Mine was real. I'm laughing at how shit your laugh is. A starts laughing, B. No. A keeps laughing, this time louder. B. I'm really not convinced. A laughs so hard that the world begins to shake. A stops laughing. Pause. B, you can't even fake a laugh. You've no chance of becoming a spy. That last one.
Brilliant, I love that. Amazing. Who are they?
People that are trying to become spies.
Of course.
What level?
What level?
Is it,
You're the
It's one in school.
Yeah.
Two very high people.
That was brilliant.
Who else would like to share?
Go on, I'll share.
Oh yeah.
Don't mind. So A and B are on the bench. A laughs. B doesn't. A stops laughing. B. Bit racist that. A. So. B. So you shouldn't really tell jokes like that. A. You tell them. B. Outside in public. Them kind of jokes should remain indoors. A. It was funny, man. You could at least laugh. B. Interior. It's an interior joke. A. You're a joke. B. What? A. You fucking preaching at me. You're a joke.
That's brilliant. Brilliant. Who are they? How old are they? Where are they? Obviously.
On a bench.
Yeah.
In a public space.
In a house.
They're very public space. When they're in a park,
In a park.
outside in a busy-ish potentially area maybe. What else? Young. Yeah, not necessarily. We're like, oh, this is so young. No, that was really cool. What else did you get? Character traits.
Probably that they live together, or they're quite close. I felt I lived
Yeah.
together because I felt like it's okay to have those jokes in the house.
Yeah.
In private, but not.
There's almost like a schooling of it, like they could have been brothers, and it's like all best friends. It's like you don't do it like that. This is what you do.
I felt like the younger one was pulling rank in this. If
Yeah,
the scene was
yeah.
bigger, it would be like taking rank and
Right.
kind of dominating it in some kind of way. The change of power.
Yeah. That's very cool. That's really cool. Another one. We keep looking
Yeah,
at
I was a bit liberal with the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. A. Sorry, was I not meant to laugh? I'm new to all this. B. It's not that it wasn't funny, it's just there's food in your teeth. A. Oh shit, sorry. B. No, it's not your fault, but I did think it was odd you ordered the boiled broccoli. A. I like broccoli. Oh, so what are your thoughts on broccoli? B. I've taken you to a French restaurant. I think perhaps you should have known better.
Brilliant. Very
Not
clear.
technically a bench.
It was that. I loved it. Who are they? What's their relationship?
First date, kind of.
Yeah, so early.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, still trying to impress.
Yeah.
Nervous.
Yeah. Still trying to gauge each other as well.
Yeah.
Maybe one's just relaxed into it a little bit more than the other.
We're on the right path?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anyone else? Final? Yeah.
A and B sitting on a bench. A starts laughing. B doesn't react. A stops laughing. A. Fairy wings fluttering on your eyelashes always tickle. B. Slides along the bench. A. They have to choose you. You don't choose them. B stands. A follows. A. They read energies. A starts laughing.
Brilliant. Where are we? Who are we with?
Either with like young children or some guys tripping the bathtub.
Definitely A is.
Yeah. What do you get about them? They are.
They've probably never met before.
Yeah, strangers.
The teaching thing again. What else? If you want to say so much, I'm restraining myself. Yes. What else do we get about them? Where are they?
Definitely still in the park. And I think it's about A trying to introduce somebody into a new world that they're just not seeing.
Yes.
And also A kind of comes off as maybe being the person who's slightly crazy, but they might not be the crazy person. Maybe it's B. She's not saying it.
Ah. I liked it. I liked it. So yeah, and 2 lots of 3 minutes, that's how I write plays. Basically. That's how I learn out who my characters are. I make them speak, I find out who they are, what they're about, what their relationships are to each other. That's all I have to impart. What do we think? What do we think? What did we like? What didn't we like? What was useful, what wasn't?
It feels slightly like a roller coaster because you're like, what's going on next? No, yeah, that.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
It could go somewhere brilliant, or it could just
Yeah.
really not.
It might be
It could
sparse.
crash. I liked it.
Either way, that makes it a shame to have to stop.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is one of the most difficult things sometimes is making a start.
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's
And
good
there
to
is
get
it's
going.
a 3-minute thing. Like it's like you've just done 2 scenes in 6 minutes, and there are 4 characters there that you could stick with or not. And I think sometimes I don't do that much writing in the whole day, or I don't get that much development. I think it's quite nice when you're stuck in a bit of a.
When you say it's what you use, as in you give yourself 3 stage directions like that, and then.
Sometimes, so I might have people or ideas of kind of what's a better way of saying it? Characters who are functional rather than detailed and fleshed out and thought through. So I might have my protagonist who I know everything about, and then I'll be like, and then they'll encounter a police officer or a lawyer or just someone or a teacher that could just feel a bit naff and a bit functional. And I'd just be like, well, who are these people? What are they about? And I'm like, what if? And then that's just kind of
Do you give
periphery
yourself
work.
that kind of time constraint,
I-
but not 3 minutes?
Yeah. Timer, and I just do a crap naff situation, and I quite like the action because I just think, well, why are they stood? Why are they sat? Like, did that dictate anyone's scene where that went? The idea of someone standing up or someone laughing or someone not reacting.
Everything.
Yeah, that's because I just think because without that, then you do just have 2 people in a room that are ready to talk, and there's no.
And just say what agenda you
Yeah.
write has on your
Yeah.
head rather than their agenda anyway.
Yeah.
And it's nice, the first one about someone being already there and someone else arriving really helped to sort of decide the power structure, like sort of the status of both characters as well, and deciding like whether or not a person coming in like felt bad about being like late into the room or whether they were actually sort of controlling the situation. So that was really good.
So my scene was a kidnapping scene. It was like, still here. And it was like, and you got out the ropes. It's like, yes, and it's that you can go anywhere with it, and it's quite fun. And then it I don't know, I quite like the smallness of the time space, the time frame, and to allow yourself to go to a world that maybe you wouldn't have ordinarily went to. And I feel like it helps flesh stuff out. I always get told, very regularly, it's kind of a really fun way to write with no deadline or no, there's so little structure in it, and like you were saying, you can just kind of find yourself waffling and meandering and going off course, and it doesn't really help with the idea of writing a play, but I definitely feel like I know the characters better when I do that. So it might not come with a solid piece of theatre at the end of it, but I definitely feel like it helps me get kind of 3D characters. So I always think that's like a nice little trick. So I just thought we'd start with that. It's a nice fun little trick to do. And my second one is also a fun little trick to do. And this is definitely, I don't write anything without doing this. And again, we'll try it. You might hate it. You definitely might hate my choice of music. So what I'm going to do is this next exercise. I'm going to play a track. I'm going to tell the people back home what I'm going to do. I'm going to play, because I just can't stop listening to it at the minute, and I'm just in love with it, and you might hate it, and I apologise because you're going to listen to it a lot for the next 15 minutes. I'm going to play one track. I'm going to pick Bad Boys from Stormzy's new album, because it's brilliant, and I'm going to play it on loop. And what we're going to do with this is, first time through we're going to listen to it. Second time through we're going to really like find a piece in the music, whether it's the strings in the background, whether it's the chorus, whether it's lyrics, whether it's an energy, whether it's the beat, and we're going to think who would exist around this music. Is it a character that listens to the music? Is it a character that has the energy of the music? Is it a character that would resist this type of music? Is it a character that would resist this type of energy? So we're going to go through it a second time, we're going to really ask ourselves those questions. Then we're going to listen to it a third time, and we're going to start writing, and I'm going to ask some questions of your character, and you're just going to literally, from the energy behind the music, start creating something, potentially. In all honesty, you might really like this, you might really hate it. On 4th playthrough, you might be like so done and never listen to Stormzy ever again, in which case I apologise. But I think let's try it. I really enjoy it. I think after the second or third or fourth time of listening to the same track on loop, you zone out and then the energy just takes over you. And I think there's something quite useful in that. And you stop hearing the lyrics and then you do follow the beat or follow the kind of the I guess energy, I can't think of a better word, that pushes you through. And that becomes quite hypnotic and quite, I don't know, transports you somewhere different and gets you into a world where you can create and you can make stuff up. So that's why I enjoy this. I just think let's hit the ground running and see if we like it, see what we hate about it, see if it works. So just first time we're going to listen. Second time you're just going to allow yourself to get lost in it. And I just hope it's loud enough. That's all I have. We'll give it a go.
turn.
Okay, I'm going to keep the music going. And now I'd like to take some pens and papers, and we're just going to keep going with this. And think about who you saw when you're listening to that tune, and we're going to keep the music and try and stay connected to it to some way, and I'm just going to shoot questions. If you find that I'm going too quickly, just raise your hand and I'll slow down. We're going to keep this going, okay? What's your character's name? Anything you don't know, don't worry about it. Like, we're going so quickly through this. You don't have to have fully formed answers yet, but just we're sketching something out. So try and just like be willing to play, and also you don't have to commit. What's your character's name? And gender. If they conform to a gender. And age. Whether it's specific or not yet. If it is specific, do they have a birthday? Do they have a star sign? So if you get stuck, go back to the music. What do they do? What do they want to do? What's their home? Who's in their home? Where do they live? Who makes up their home? Where do they live? Who's in their home? Who makes up their home? And what does their dream home look like? Who makes up their dream home? Are they there yet? Are they not? When were you at your happiest? The character at their happiest. When were they at their lowest? What's the best thing they've ever done? The thing they're most proud of. What's the worst thing they've ever done? To themselves. What's the worst thing they've done to themselves?
Sorry, what's the question?
What was the worst thing they've done to themselves? Then what's the worst thing they've done to another person? What's the worst thing anybody's done to them? their biggest secret? We have the biggest secret, and then on top of that, we're going to trumpet the secret that nobody knows. They've not told their best friend, their lover, anyone. If there's a difference. How do they present themselves in public? What kind of person do they present themselves as? What part of themselves do they hide from other people? What do they like about their physical appearance? And what would they change about their physical appearance? What's the most racist thought they've ever had? The most racist thought they've ever had. The most sexist thought they've ever had. What's the best sex they've ever had? And the worst sex they've ever had? Who would they most like to sleep with? Is it someone achievable? Is it someone fantasy? Who do they love the most? And what's the worst thing they can imagine happening to them?
Is that the person they love? Or?
Who's the person they love the most, and what is the worst thing your character can imagine happening to that person? What are they most afraid of? What do they believe happens after you die? What would they prefer? Eternal life or eternal nothingness? Who do they most hate? what would be the best way of hurting that person? What do people say behind your character's back? What do your character's family members say behind your character's back? What do they say about their family behind their back? What do they contribute to the world? If they were to give advice to their 12-year-old self, what would it be? And I forget when I've done this, but I'm going to repeat it one more time because it's important, I think. Something they've only ever told a loved one. Something they would only tell a loved one. And something they wouldn't tell anyone. And I'll finish. Something they would only tell a loved one. Something they wouldn't tell anyone. Something they wouldn't tell anyone. Something they would only share with a loved one, something they wouldn't share with anyone. Their secret. Okay. So I'm going to keep this music for a little bit longer. I promise, just a little bit. I'm going to get a new sheet of paper and we're going to write a short scene. So the character that they love the most. For some reason, and this scene doesn't know it, they need to tell them without using the words I love you. Can we write that scene? The character they love the most, for some reason doesn't know it, and they need to tell them without using the words I love you. And I want you to write it to the rhythm of this music. And we're going to have 3 minutes. Before we share, does anyone here write to music? Do people write like, do you write like that to music, or do you listen to soundtracks, or do you?
Yeah, just without lyrics.
Without lyrics, actually,
Instrumentals,
yeah.
like piano music, background music.
Yeah. And like as if in playlists, like you allow the music to change.
Depends what scene it is.
Mhm.
Like if it's something with like conflict in it, maybe just white noise.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Right.
anything that fits the scene really.
Yeah. Have you ever gone into it allowing the music to dictate the scene, or the music to dictate? I don't even know if it's a right or wrong. I don't know why I choose to do it.
I've been aware of that happening and turn my music off.
Yeah.
It's
Like when
same-
driving, if I drive to like fast-paced music, I suddenly find myself quite heavily over the speed limit. I'm very excited and like running home. What did you think about it? I purposely picked a piece of music with rap, with singing, with instrumental, with a bit of dialogue at the beginning. A little bit hectic, a little bit perhaps out of most people's comfort zone. I think I normally choose more melodic type pieces of music. But I was just curious as to what this did.
There are
And
certain times to pick something that is outside of myself, so but maybe is what the character likes.
yeah,
So my playlist will tend to be maybe I can into like classical and rock and then hip hop because it's not about me, it's
Yeah.
about the character. So then I think if I have a clashing playlist, then I know I have clashing
Yeah.
characters,
Right.
and that helps to kind of
nice.
set who they are. So kind of with each play, I end up with these different types of playlists.
Yeah.
And kind of each section, you can when the music then goes through sections, you go, now we're with X character,
Right.
now we're with so character.
Right. Nice. What about having a piece of external music create a character? Did everyone get sick of the music after a while?
Yeah.
No.
I found,
This can't be an attack on Stormzy.
well, so like, embrace it, innit? So, end of the day, if you write with your characters, we're going to need antagonists, and they might not be cool people. So we're going to have to write things we don't like, or people we don't like.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to, and actually, if it was just a soundtrack and I didn't know it was Stormzy, I didn't necessarily know it was current,
Yeah.
it might have changed my whole opinion of it, and I might be able to listen to it as more like a soundscape.
Yeah.
But actually, taking the fact I don't like it, which I shouldn't put aside, keep hold of that. I started writing about a character I don't like, and then you asked me a question that I didn't care about. But then I'm going, but just because I don't care about it doesn't mean that this character doesn't care about it. So as much as I don't like the character, I like the music.
Yeah.
It gave me a force to have to look at it to have to put it up like this and look at it 3D rather than just look at it down on the paper. So embrace the hate.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. What were you
Like the
saying?
clock.
Pardon?
The chiming of the clock.
Yeah.
That influenced everything.
Was there a clock?
Yeah.
There's like kind of, and then I always get to the like third act when it's like fuck that, and I'm like, oh god, what is that? But suddenly just because I feel like the rest of it becomes almost white noise to me, and then suddenly that brings me back to that exact moment again. You definitely, I think, on like the fourth or fifth play, you start hearing the same thing, the same rhythm, and then I think that informs what you're writing straight away.
And the monks chanting in the background as well.
Yeah.
Kind of gave it its own like point in time.
Yeah.
And it envisioned where the character was and why he was there, just from that little tiny section.
Yeah. Did you find it exhausting? I really like it because I think it takes me out of the real world. I think if I listen to, so I have friends who listen to playlists and listen to music and listen to actively choose pieces of music for different characters and for purposes of scenes. And I've tried that, and I think that's probably, I think I just would do anything other than write sometimes, so I think I just spend all day like, picking my playlists. And I think something about that, eventually after the third or fourth year, I stop hearing it and it just starts coming through. It sounds so wank. But I think it does. I think it stops being I'm not conscious of it, and it just starts. It's like when I say when I'm driving down the motorway and I'm listening, if that was like, I would stop hearing that music and I would just, it comes out through my driving and I find myself pelting down, or not, or if it was like Mellow Magic, which is also my favourite thing to drive to. I find myself perhaps in the slow lane, like having a nice leisurely drive. But I like that, and then I start trusting it, and then I pick pieces of music to dictate themes, which I then will just allow that to be on loop. It was really weird for the first time playing that out loud, because I was like, it's a really private thing to do in a room full of people, and suddenly there's like 6 other people here that we're all trying to be private and public together, and it's just, I'm so used to plugging in with headphones and being able, but so that felt a lot kind of a thing to get used to, but once I did it, I was able to distance, if that makes sense. Did anyone really find it, I don't know, not useful, not?
I think it's like the second rapper, like that I just couldn't tap into because I just couldn't hear what you were saying at all. I was like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
So that made it difficult to then eventually tune it out. 'Cause
Right.
I never tapped into it.
Okay.
So it was like I can fade the other bit out, then he just comes out of nowhere. That's what happened.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't write to music.
No.
Like, it felt like it just sort of fell away.
Yeah,
Like it
it
wasn't-
disappears eventually.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was like a good thing in the sense that like it just felt like a general sort of background noise, left my mind
Yeah.
somewhere and just let everything fall away.
So do you write in complete do you write in cafes?
Yeah,
And can you write with that type of background? noise?
yeah, just that sort of murmuring, just sort of going on.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you do that as well?
Yeah, I write about
Complete
Italian
silence
and
is
Filo and
distracting.
Yeah.
See, I do that, but I think I do the same thing with that because I think it's so naff that it becomes kind of nothingness, and also it makes me feel less lonely when I write at 3 a.m. and I've got like kind of trash panel shows on or something. And it's like, well, someone else is up in the world. But I don't know, for me it's always a cheap trick to plug out and be in a cafe but concentrate and being in a rhythm of the scene. But the world could be happening around me and I really like that.
And do you use this to dig into an idea that you already have, or to start from a blank canvas? Like, do you go, I've got this gap in the story here, I need this character to move it along like this, so it's moody, it's fast, I'm going to listen to some dirty jungle and get myself in there, or...
Both. I'm writing a character at the minute that my attitude towards them was a bit like kind of what you said. I wasn't very warm towards them. You have your people that you love and you can you enjoy writing, and then they're normally periphery characters I find, and functional characters, and they just come in and they do really dull things, and you just find yourself I sometimes fall into really bad habits of speaking quite formally on their behalf because I kind of don't care. And they say things like yes and no and of course. And I'm like, who are they? What the fuck is that about? Excuse my language. And then I think, well, what music would they listen to, or what energy could they have? And I play with a few tracks, and I decide on them quite quickly. I try not to fixate on it because I think I could get a rhythm from anything. And then I start building, and I'm like, they wouldn't like this. This would make them anxious. This would make them a bit tense. This would make them pitch. They would find themselves, on the back of a bus with some kids listening to this, and they would not be comfortable. And then that gives me an energy as well. Or I find a piece of music they'd be like, yeah, this is them on their downtime. This is them on a Friday night having fun, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up, a bit more chilled. So I quite like that. This is just me finding tricks to write dull people more interesting.
Yeah, definitely helps with that.
Yeah, and also for plugging away from the world. And what about dictating brand new people? And did it help with that? Did it feel like it was so out of nowhere? Because before we got to the questions, because I'm sure you guys have done those questions, or a variation of those questions before, but just sitting quietly, listening to music, and hooking onto a piece in it, whether it's the instrumental, whether it's a vocal, whether it's a rap, whether it's a word, whether it's a lyric, and trying to
something
pick
about this music that for me anyway, dictates a specific type of person.
Yeah.
Whereas I think
I wanted to know if you all wrote are they all 21-year-old black boys from South
they're the
London?
20s.
But then I'm like, how cool for it to not be that if it isn't, or
But I think some I find classical music as a blank slate.
Yeah.
And that I can create also different people from classical music. But then with this, I'm just like, oh. But then I want to subvert who I think this person is.
Yeah.
That's why I think the interesting thing becomes.
Okay.
I quite like though you can with the questions. If you were conscious of it, like sometimes I did just kind of get into the kind of the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
But you sort of either play with it
Yeah.
or play against it,
Yeah.
or actively try and just it's almost impossible to do, but just unacknowledge what
Yeah.
you listen to and try and create an entire world together.
Yeah.
So it is, I think, in terms of like especially creating a new character or answering
Yeah.
these questions, it's quite an interesting exercise.
Yeah.
I think if we had more, if we had more time, it's something that I would react against. But because like we had a limited time and the questions were full,
Yeah.
I found myself like going along with
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And, like,
yeah.
so I was writing, you know, this
In the
angst
rhythm.
thing, like, oh God, yeah. So
You
yes,
were
that-
mini M&Ms or something.
With the questions themselves, it wasn't like whether it was right or wrong. It was like all of a sudden, oh shit, that opens up another avenue of questions, and
Yeah.
and you go, oh, I thought I didn't write this guy, and then you write it more.
And
Yeah,
it starts
so
on his
because it's
side.
good that you're doing something with no right or wrong,
Yeah.
and you can pick and leave things up and follow something else as far as you want, really. I suppose.
And when you guys do questions like that and answers like that, do you ever read them back? Or what do you do with those?
You go to the subconscious, don't they?
I think
Of the
so.
character.
I think they're just
Yeah.
quite fun things to jot down, and then I always think.
Surprises you when you're writing. It
Yeah.
pops up and you're like, oh, yeah, I knew that about you.
I always think as well, sometimes when you write things, then they become real, even though you never have to read it again. You're just like, oh yeah, they love this, or they hate their mom for that, or and that just becomes fact and something that you instinctively now know about them, even though I tend never to read this stuff back. I don't know what you guys do with it.
I think you don't need those moments then, do you either? I think you don't need those, but instinctively they feel like the big scenes that you should have, like the moment where he falls out with his mom or with his girlfriend or whatever,
Yeah.
but then once you've written it, like you say, it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like just referencing the line, and then you've actually, there's a much more interesting scene
Yeah.
that you can then get to, I think. It's quite nice.
Speaking of scenes, would anyone like to share? I want to read all these angst-ridden characters. And it's as well, it's like we did with the first exercise, we just plucked something out of the air, we listened to that track twice, and then started sketching out a character. So that's kind of cool and kind of fun and kind of exciting, but also proves that, you know, I'm not expecting Tennessee Williams. But also I could.
I've got one.
Go.
A huge silence, no sound, for about the length of a Stormzy song. A breaks the silence. What? B, you know what? A, I don't. B, stop being a fucking cunt. That's it.
Not sure I love you.
That's my I love you.
No. Nice. You the fucking Yeah. Wicked. I like it. Yeah? Keep going.
It's called Marshall, because that's his birth name. But he's also known as Professor Black Man. Don't know why. Marshall lifts up his 2-year-old nephew and cradles him in his arms. He smells the crown of his head, pulls him closer, he cries, he lays him down and smiles at him.
I love yous with that. I love you.
Mine's not as nice. Jam slams the door with Kyle on the other side of it. A baby screams. Through the door, Jam shouts, "Fuck off, Kyle." Kyle, Jam, let me in. No, fuck off, I mean it. No, I'm not going anywhere. 6 months, 6 fucking months. Jam, I'm not listening. Kyle, no, you are. You will, Jam. 6 months in there. All I ever thought about was you and her, our baby, about getting out and about us being a proper family, because Jem opens the door. Gemma, a proper family? No, you lost that day.
Actually, mine has a baby too.
So outside the courtroom, you take the mobile phone afterwards. My family.
It's brilliant. That's really good.
Mine, it wasn't a young black man either. Like mine was like a guy who was actually probably the opposite. He was just like young and white and racist and actually blowing everyone else for like his life thing. I think that the anger in it, I think really got me.
Okay. There's a pace. There's two. I think that piece of music. There's two paces. There's the really like rip. I mean, I'm not a music critic at all, but there is a slow pace that you can kind of find yourself on that can create a different type of character completely, or you can get into that kind of inner city quick, like fast paced, like fast living, just like go 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 type character very easily. And I was so curious to see which way you guys would have gone. Don't you?
Yeah. A, and she'd be there. B, beautiful. A, beautiful, yes, of course. B, breathing. A, breathing so, B, beautifully. A, yes. B, but she would never be able to see your face. A, she'd feel it. She'd feel every crevice of it. B, she would. A, she'd feel every ounce of joy we'd give her. B, I don't think we should have it.
Oh, cool. Okay. Don't know what to say to that.
No, I know.
That's wicked. That's how, I mean, I see it. I see, oh, I thought it might have been a dead baby to begin with, but I guess it kind of is.
I'm just quite sad that they love it, but they didn't want it. Or somebody doesn't want it.
Huh?
Someone doesn't want it.
Yeah. I think it was kind of he loves her so much to bring the baby into the relationship. He didn't want to affect what they already have.
Was your character the guy?
So
Was your
B-
character the guy that
yeah,
came from
B
this thing?
was the guy that I created. Drew a picture.
I saw, I loved it. Detail.
Find like drawing characters as well. Like,
Yeah.
so important, and like even the rooms that they're in.
Yeah.
Like, I paint out and like just so it's more real.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you guys, you've got stage directions?
Yeah.
Detailed stage directions?
And they try to keep it to a minimum now.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing about kind of drawing characters. I tend to find pictures of people that I think my character looks like.
Yeah,
So at least I have a frame of reference. And like one period, like Forrest Whitaker for like 5 months.
Oh, so you think of actors or people?
Sometimes it can be. It depends. Sometimes I'll be looking for a specific look. Or sometimes I go, well, I've seen it in X TV show. I want that face there, just for reference.
Nice. No. Okay.
Yeah. She's talked to a cat.
That.
Lauren, you're back. Cat, I was only next door. Lauren, of course you were. Fresh chicken, was it? Cat, I didn't realise that you were going to take it so badly. Lauren, all I ask, after a long day at the van, serving lunch at Harvard Bolton, so I can't remember the right something. I could do with you here for when I get back. Cat, it's not personal. Lauren, at least you're here now. Please don't run away again. I'm scared that I'll lose you.
Okay. I'm like laughed all the way through that. That was the perfect I love you.
She loves the cat.
Yeah. That's really cool. Was your character the woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I really want this to be your moment when you're like, no, Storm's moving right. We
There's
choose
more
that
to it.
with
There's one of those answers like, oh no, that's right. Scene with the cat. I tried to make it.
Loved it. That's brilliant. Do you want to go?
I mean, I prefer not to, just because like there's an intensity to that music. So when it's going, you're like caught up, and it's like epic. And then looking back at it, you're just like, oh gosh.
You don't have to. But I'm so curious
No.
about the intensity now. But I don't want to put you on the spot. Just because I'm.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. It's so I've got I won't say. When I'm up on that mountain, yeah. Which one? Anyone, it's not important. Like, if it all went wrong on this nameless mountain, yeah, there'd be tons without names. And who do you think gets to name them? It's people like me who get to name them. And I'm saying though, if I'm up there and something happens, they say that all the best things flash by in front of you. Not just the best things, is it? Your whole life, the bad things too. But I won't pay attention to the bad things. I'll only think of the good things. I'm saying I'll be thinking of you when you're dying on a mountain. Yeah. Maybe you could name it after me too. Because like there was just like an ascent, and I just had this guy who was just sort of like, oh, I'm going to be a mountaineer. I'm going to go for it. But he's never going to do it.
You just stop reacting to people's work. That's brilliant.
But if you had such a different song
Yeah.
and were like write a love scene, it would be
Yeah.
a completely different thing.
Yeah. And you're right, like I did try and think, I was going to try and come up with something instrumental, and then I was like, actually I don't necessarily use instrumental classical stuff, mainly because I'm always like, this is the song from Tom and Jerry. So I find it too almost infamous. So many brilliant tracks, brilliant pieces of music always feel that they've been assigned to epic films or epic moments, or you were saying earlier, like Renault Clio adverts, that it's like they feel used, and it's really hard then to listen to a track like that and create a completely new story or a new narrative. And so sometimes I then think, well then just use pop music or just use anything and get yourself in the zone. But that's my thing. I think maybe that's me being lazy. But I do quite like that as a bit of a trick. Okay, trick's done. Thank you for coming with me on these little journeys. I'm going to do another one, and then we're going to just something about secrets now, and inventing characters and putting your own secrets in it. So you would have probably done this again in a different workshop, potentially, but if I can even find where I wrote that idea down. Okay, yeah. So, next task. I'm going to get you to do, this is going to be private writing, so you won't share this, so hopefully that'll give you the confidence to kind of wild out, as I say. We're just going to spend 3 minutes kind of jotting down private thoughts, questions about yourself as a person, just free writing. Try not to take your pen off the paper, just try and keep writing, and write quickly with no thought, no premeditation type thing.
In the situational form, I was like, oh shit, there's the dialogue. And
Right.
it might literally be like a couple of questions of what, who, what do you say, I'm wrong, you know, but I think it's an accumulation of living as well, because it's like a poem from 10 years ago and a news article from yesterday, and all of a sudden you go, oh, bang, right, okay, that's...
I do find that even, like, I'll try and find start with a scenario or like a single line, and try and think, you know, oh, is that exciting or that kind of concept, but I think ultimately it doesn't matter like where you start, actually, like you said, it's that recent experiences or thoughts or things that you don't realise have been playing through your mind, and they will actually rise to the surface, and maybe that first, for me, that first line of scenario actually was just a gateway into bringing those things to the surface.
Wait. So is it, so you have scenarios or bits of dialogue or things that you want to investigate, but do you know that it's going to like a bigger theme, or do you know what you want to, is that? Or is it, or do you do?
Yeah, I tend to have like the, not a theme first, but maybe like the news thing. I think I tend to start with like, I'll read an article and think, I just want to write that story, and then it's never that story, but that's the thing that starts. But I think that's, for me, I think dialogue comes maybe last. I think because I write dialogue quite easily,
Right.
then that's the thing that I could write all day long. So
Yeah, I think
not
that's
actually
the
the
same,
structure.
Yeah, I love structure and like putting it all pieces together. I could genuinely do dialogue in like a day and get it. But I could spend months like planning and structuring and sticking things together. And,
Because if I do the dialogue as the first thing, then I would be just doing that for what I do, just be carrying on for months and months, and then I realise I've got nothing. Someone's like, two people sitting there.
We know so much about them, we know their text, we know what they find funny.
Right, but they're just not going anywhere.
One thing I've just done is like, I went to like the pound shop and bought a load of notice boards.
Oh yeah.
So I've kind of made myself a little wall where I can put my brain on the wall. So it's a case of going, so I can almost kind of like brainstorm the wall. And if you're having a mess and you organise that, and you almost have a structure, you've almost kind of united a kind of outframe of a story, or you at least have a Christmas tree to start hanging some decorations on at least, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that's the best thing I've ever done to provoke whatever's in my bag of tricks, to provoke it out. And these notice boards have been the best thing. It seems when I close my laptop, everything disappears. It's in a little file inside around.
I quite like it, but I've got magic whiteboards and stuff that you just like, that just sticks the static on the walls. And it just, every time I have an idea, I just write something down.
I've got big pieces of paper.
Yeah.
And like Sharpies.
Station. Has anyone been asked to write something? As if what am I trying to say? Been commissioned to do something specific. So you've been commissioned to write about something, as opposed to please write your story or what you're passionate to write about. So I feel like that's a very privileged position to be like, oh, you get to write what you want to write about. And then sometimes someone's like, I need a 10-minute play about this, go. And you're like, oh, okay. Have you been in those positions? And how do you approach that?
Like I've been asked to adapt a novel.
Okay.
And like everything is there. Like all the stuff that I would spend months doing is already there.
Nice.
So I think I'm picking all their stuff and taking stuff that I want. Because I have to start from somewhere, because I think I find it difficult to kind of jump straight to like dialogue stuff, because I need that processing thing. So even if it's kind of rewriting that writer's timelines again, I think I just need to physically do it so that I can get it, and then see whether or not the same characters would be a priority or not. And if we checking like timelines as well. I think that's where I'm at.
That's mama.
A bit like with the Stormzy thing, it's like sometimes I go against what the actual thing was. So once I was commissioned to write a one-page play, and the theme was a picture. There was 6 playwrights writing the same play, and it was a picture of water or like a puddle. So instantly I wanted to write something dry, and there we go. And that was where I started. And I had a brother and a sister in the desert, and the brother was taking the sister over to Syria to start fighting, and the sister thought she was on holiday on a mountain in Turkey, and you're like, great, it's wicked. But I went against what the thing was, you know, and I don't know if that's being naughty sometimes, but it seems to work for me.
I guess it's still the same. It's still the same piece of stimulus that you had. Why am I waffling? What was my point? I guess I was like, I don't know. I was trying again go, what do I do? And is there any point in playing around with what I do to see if you guys like it? And I don't know really what I do. Other than I know that I wanted to write, I wrote a play called Roots that I decided, I think I remember saying very specifically, I want to write about the guys in the camp in Calais. This is not even the first camp, this might have been the second camp, back in like 2012 or something. And like me and my friends saw it and we just were curious as to what's going on. So I was like, that's what I'm going to write about. I'm really angry, this is going on, blah, 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 blah. And then like I read all these news articles and I was like, I just remember being like, I don't, and I wrote a play kind of about that, although not really at all. But I remember thinking, it was a really weird thing to be like, I'm going to write about this, and then invent some characters that will exist in a world that will explore a theme that aren't politicians or potentially refugee people coming over.
That's really interesting because that's I think that's the way that I always, that scenario is the kind of supposed the way that I would naturally think, is that I would think, I want to write about this, so what's the story that I can use to tell that.
And how do you find that story?
I suppose it just comes, it's that thing of like, you look all around, but I suppose it's thrown out the obvious, so like, I suppose like with like the refugee camp and everything, that you throw away the obvious of like, that for me anyway, it feels like unless that was my story, I don't know if I'd want to tell that obvious top story, so I think someone else probably whose story it is will tell that story. So I suppose it's throwing out that initial idea and then sort of looking at all the other angles and who those other people are in that story and looking at across the whole tapestry, I suppose, and deciding which bit of it, and I like the sort of periphery more, I think.
It's kind of like as well when you see throughout the initial idea, it's almost like you've had your one story that you've sort of really zoned in on, but the more you do it, the more sort of universal it becomes. You're not specifically writing about, I don't know, Brexit, you're writing about the bigger thing around it, or you're letting yourself get influenced by it.
In fact, the kind of 2 approaches there, and he's like, I want to write about this political thing, but I'm not a politician, so make it personal. And then some people, because for me, when I first play, I kept seeing this headline, baby found, mother responsible, baby found dead, auntie responsible. So I wanted to write the scene that the baby dies. I didn't really care about what it said politically, but my task then was to make it personal, sing politically in a way of being discreet. So there's them kind of 2 ways in, I suppose, and it's stuff like that. How do you make it universal, and how to make everyone want to like it as well? Feel it.
We did a workshop when I was just started writing, and I guess I'm wondering if anyone told you this, and I always felt it was like a nice little crutch to hold on to, of the, so I did with Roots, at the time, like, it was, London felt so political at the time, and everything was kind of, all this stuff was happening, and it was just after the riots, so all these kids had kind of been involved in the riots and were getting kicked out. They were getting like extra heavy charges for really mundane, small offences that normally they'd get like a slap on the wrist for, suddenly going to prison. And all this stuff was happening. And I remember thinking, and some people were getting their citizenship taken away, and it felt like a really nice, easy in. So that's why I ended up writing about, and I can write kind of those those type of characters. I'm waffling. I guess I got told, and I wonder if anyone does this or finds this useful, to write the opposite of what you're trying to write, and that doesn't make sense. What I'm trying to say is, so I wrote characters who were potentially very anti-immigration, and I really enjoyed characters that, so my two boys in Roots, one of them was he was half Nigerian character, and he's very anti-Somalians. He found himself in a room with a Somalian and was very antagonistic towards that Somalian character. And I remember thinking how I wanted that them two could get kind of scooped up in a system that could potentially result in one of them getting kicked out of the country. And can those characters change and have a different mindset? And I remember really enjoying that and thinking that was like I hate using the trick, because actually I think it's probably just drama, and it's what we're interested in.
Is it quite true as well? It's like them questions that you ask us, and it's like what do you do to relax? What's the worst thing for you? And all of a sudden the same thing kept popping up, and it was kind of like the thing that I think's the best thing for me is sometimes the worst thing for me, but I'll keep it close. And these things do exist in real life. Not everything
and
is so.
I think people are very find a way to say this that will mean it's okay to be on camera forever. But there are people, for example, a friend of mine wrote a character who was an artist who played football at the weekend. And someone was like, and he was like, I'm literally a writer who plays football at the weekend. No, I just don't. And sometimes I'm just like, it's those kind of quirks and those oppositions that make people real and make people believable. And I always, I always think of those secrets we did and those questions when we were listening to the music. Of what's the most racist thing the characters thought, what's the most sexist thing? Because no one's perfect. You can have a lovable, adorable, wanting to follow them for 2-hour character who has the most right-wing, fascist, like about one particular thing, and you almost are intrigued by them more because you're like, they stand by it.
Like, I don't think anyone can taught it in that way, but I think the notion of having a character whose needs and wants are kind of polar opposite.
Yeah.
Because then they begin wanting something, then discover that they need something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, that's what always drives them. And similarly with like the antagonist, allowing them to be the opposite of what the protagonist wants.
Right.
And always having that kind of pushing kind of against each other.
Okay.
I think I understand it in that same way, because then you get out of writing characters that just feel really functional and just kind of serving rather than provoking and pushing and allowing for action to take place.
I think I really resist, and this is a personal thing, and I'm just curious as to what you guys think. I really resist clean characters. Like I find myself sometimes in the theatre watching, I always mug off, there's a film that does it, and I won't name the film, but like the character calls his mom in the first 5 minutes and wishes his mom a happy birthday, and then like an old lady struggling up the stairs and he runs up and carries it, and I'm like, I know this character's about to do something bad, and I'm now supposed to believe he's inherently a good person because he's just called his mom and helped the old lady on the stairs, and then literally I think a dog gets knocked over and he drags the dog across the road. And it really jars on me because I'm like, I don't think if I saw a guy hanging out with his friends smoking weed and being a bit of a fuck up, I would now be like, oh, they're inherently bad and therefore bad things should happen to them, and therefore when this guy obviously finds himself being killed at the end, I'm like, well, he deserves it. I'm just like, that's not, I don't know, I really resist the cleanness of characters, so I feel like I'm imposing. I just think, I guess,
I think you're right, and I think for me, because I like when I'm not writing, I work a lot with sort of vulnerable people, and I work quite a lot in working with women's refugees at the moment, and one of my pet hates of dramas about sort of women's refugees and women who are sort of victims of domestic abuse is when they are portrayed as this kind of perfect person who this awful thing's happened to, almost as if they weren't, you wouldn't feel for them, and that really gets me because I just think everyone's just human and everyone's got flaws, and actually that's what makes us love them. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too, that you can write perfect people who actually we don't like because they're like, but that's not a real person, whereas the flawed person in a drama everyone likes, and they were the one that you wanted to not like, and it's that as well.
I definitely, my favourite part in this play that I did, the Roots play, one of the characters had found himself in this hostel because he'd been violent towards his mom, and so it was like a way of kind of, and he desperately just wanted to go home. They both just wanted to go home, but he'd been violent towards his mom, and his mom had like basically shut him out. And I found myself at the tea station in the Royal Court, like making a cup of tea, and the actor was like hovering behind me, and he was like, "Oh, I love the character, I love the play, love everything. About me hitting my mom, I don't know if I do that." I was like stirring my tea, like. Because I just think, you know, I really like him, I think he's a good guy, and I just don't want the audience like having an attitude towards him. I was like, they will love you because you're brilliant and because it's really clear.
Why does that automatically make him bad?
Yeah, and it's just so weird.
Moment.
Like, and I get that actors want to be protective over their characters and want to make them the best people they can be. But I love the idea that instantly, if you've done some like one bad thing, like the fear that they'd be struck off, and I just find it really interesting to have characters with very dramatic qualities.
Then you wonder why they require your film characters, your stage characters, to be these perfect beings. Like, why do we need to remove ourselves so far from reality that we have to see this perfect thing? Because that's not really. Do we need to escape so far from our lives?
I think I don't buy it.
Like,
They've usually done something bad, or they carry guilt, or they want some kind of reform. That's a strive to change. And usually, I like the bad things in people because that's what makes them not make them bad choices again. People who have been good and done good and know it are usually knobheads, pardon my language. But do you know what I mean? And we are, I've never done nothing wrong. Then it's a bit like, well done, you've reached your level, mate. So I love seeing characters that I just it's standard. So like my nana is a white woman, and so I suppose you could generally go, oh, so she'll be politically correct. She's got a mixed race grandson. She uses the word dark fella for everything she sees. You know, she loves me. She is my grandson, you know, but she's not that woman of the future necessarily. It's probably a white lady who lives in a white community who's going to be more politically aware than my nana. So it's yeah, these contradictions exist in people, and life wouldn't without them. I don't think.
No. Well, the exercise that I got shown that I really did. It's one of the first things I was ever taught, and I really kind of clung on to it. And I guess we're going to go back to what you did. It's the idea. The first thing I got taught was to write a monologue or a internal voice or a diary entry of someone that was pro. Prostitution, like pro the rights of believing that prostitution was a decent, legal, should be legalized profession. And then we went one step further, and we were like someone who was like, I guess nowadays the equivalent would be like pro Donald Trump, who actually really stood by everything that Donald Trump said, believed genuinely in their heart of hearts, wasn't trying to be antagonistic, wasn't trying to be provocative, wasn't one of those people that would be on Twitter just kind of stirring hate, was like, no, this guy is going to make the world a better place, and really believed in everything that he stood for. And then I guess to then humanize it, going back to your private writing, just going through and like, you know, your questions of like, what gives you the most pleasure? What's the worst thing you've ever done? What's the best thing you've ever done? Who do you love? Who's the last person you said it to? Did you mean it? Taking one of those, making that your character's truth. So you just know that when you write this monologue that it's cemented in something real. Does that make sense? So we're just going to take something that's literally from you and that's private, and I guess it doesn't have to necessarily come out in the writing, but you just know that your character and you would have this shared memory or this shared history. And now we're gonna, and just pick one, either a pro why prostitution should be 100% legalized, or why Donald Trump really is going to be the guy that saves the world. Like, just write your internal monologue for that, and we'll just do that 5 minutes, just free writing and kind of expressing some thoughts. And then Why was that?
It's a nice bit.
Yeah?
Hmm.
Nice way to kind of get complicated characters. Anything useful?
Yeah, like I said, it's pretty obvious in the task itself, but
Yeah.
it's nice finding a truth within
Yeah.
something you don't believe in. But really, I did really believe
Yeah.
that truth because of that nice way.
And I think I was being trying to be provocative and a bit annoying with the set task, but you might actually have a character that is inherently good, but they might be coming up against people like this, and I guess we can't really write them 2D anyway, so it's useful for doing it, even if it's just for your periphery characters. If you kind of, are writing a play where, really earnest, brilliant characters going on a journey and they're coming up against fascists, we can't just write them as, because I always think as well, I just respect the actor that's going to play them, and they're like, I don't want to play a 2D cop, or I don't want to play, Hitler, like as a really, unnuanced, not thought through character. So it's a good way to attack that. So as I said, that was just to kind of get us into the mindset of that, and then the final thing that again, I think this is personal, and I reckon probably some of you might do this and some of you won't. I write the last scene of my play quite quickly, like first. Do any of you do that? Do you do that? Just to know where you're getting to. Is it the first thing you write?
It's my first idea. I know, like,
Yeah.
when everyone says they know what their first scene is, I know what my end is,
Where you're
and then I'm like, oh, how do I make that
Yeah.
interesting?
I really enjoy writing the last scene as well. Like I'm like music in ears, I'm like because it's normally like outrageous or something. It's yours.
It's usually the middle. I find it difficult.
Oh, really?
The middle that I found out.
I do.
That way, that way.
I do.
We should team up.
I do it as I knew, as I said, for the play Roots that I was telling you about, these two boys thrown together that hated each other, that were going to get caught up in a load of red tape in a system that was going to treat them unfairly. And I knew they were going to fall in love with each other and be really mortified when that system broke them apart. So I just could write that scene of like, I knew that guy was going to hate him, and I was like, and then what happens when he's taken away? And that's the kind of write that I love you without the I love you in it, which is really fun for me. And I was like, once I kind of got that out in a really cathartic, brilliant. Just be complimentary towards my own writing there. Once I got that out, and I was like, right, now I can do mine up. And the same I did at my first play that I did. I knew it was opening with two lovers moving in together, and it was moving day, and it was all supposed to be happy. And I knew by the end she was going to be like, because of a bunch of circumstances that happened around them, there was going to be a race riot, and they were from two different backgrounds. Basically, I rewrote Romeo and Juliet, but very differently. And I knew at the end she was going to say, no, this is not. And so I was able to get there. So I'm going to ask you guys to take the person that we've just created, this kind of super complex character, and then what we did earlier, where it was like, on the list, the person that they love most in the world, I want you to think about that for this person, and then the worst thing they could say to them, and I want you to write that. And I think if it's not our end scene, it's definitely our interval scene. I think just as a trial, and we can fail miserably, and it doesn't matter. Let's see if that brings anything. And this will be to silence. And we'll do this with no.
So this is the character we've created.
Yeah, the character we've just created just now. We're going to just take a second to think. Who do they love more than anyone else in the world? And what's the worst thing we could say to them? No one will like that. So manipulative. No one did any writing, did they?
Oh,
Did
I
you?
did.
Oh, yes!
Sorry.
How do we find that? Yeah? This is what you guys do though, so it's kind of perhaps easier for you guys. Yeah?
No.
No, you don't. You don't.
No.
No, you don't at all. You definitely
Yeah.
don't. How did you find it? You look so confused. I'm so
Yeah, sorry, we don't what?
How did you find that?
Oh, how did I find it?
Yeah. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, she talks to the cat.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited to meet these people again.
I can see you leaving. If you want to, do you think I'd be bothered? Because you're just an animal, a shitting ball of horny fluff passing time. Your choices are driven by your bollocks and your belly. Can you explain Freud to me? Debate the definition of postmodernism? No, you can't, because you're a cat. You're hardly capable of making a proof, and ultimately, I don't need you. I can get another cat, a loyal cat. No, fuck that, I'll get a dog. So go on then, leave. I'm getting a dog.
That's fucking brilliant. I love it. So then that is the play. Is that your final scene or is that your interval scene?
To be honest, the play was nothing about the cat. But you asked me who did she love the most? The cat. So then that just, I quite like the exercise leading you down.
Nice. But that would be your like pre-interval scene or
Yeah,
final
so,
scene, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Easily. And then maybe afterwards we meet the dog. Who knows?
Well, yeah.
And
Cat dressed as the dog.
or the cat drawing its way back in. Does anyone else want to share?
I think mine, I began with A Secret, and I think I'm gonna just write my way back to The Secret, because I didn't know how to reveal it, so I'm just gonna open it. I'm gonna open with that. I think I'm just gonna start with a midway point. And it's the woman she's pro prostitution, pro choice. And it's her and her partner. It's my body, it's our lives. You could have given me this. This isn't a thing to give, it's a baby.
Just out of curiosity, how did everyone find hiding their secrets into the? Did that help with anything, or was it just too distant or abstract?
It rooted in a real place.
Did you do that? I feel like that was the plan or the hope, but maybe it didn't.
Because it's rooted in a real place, you don't go, and this is my secret.
Especially when you're writing, I guess, complicated characters or potentially provocative characters. It's quite nice to be like, yeah, but they also like support Aston Villa like I do. And then they're instantly more tangible, I guess. Do you want to share?
I don't, because
that's
I'm
fine.
burying a secret. But it's interesting
Yeah.
because it makes me less flippant's the wrong word, but it makes me want you go back and redraft and bury even further.
Yeah.
Like you're going to actually use it.
Yeah, in a way, 'cause it's very raw.
And it's like, it's these secrets, they don't have to come out in the writing, they're just sometimes quite nice to know that they're there. And the same with these kind of provocative thoughts. Like we could, do a dinner scene about something completely different when none of these characters' thoughts come out, but it will dictate something, and it will kind of flavour who these people are and what they're about, and help us see them a bit more clearly. And that, I don't know, I love the idea of always writing that end scene and knowing that that's where my character's going to get to, and then trying to get there, and also knowing that sometimes it's not good enough. Sometimes actually, once I've written that end scene and then gone back to the beginning and gone on the journey with them, that scene's just not explosive enough, or just not dramatic enough, or they haven't changed enough. And then once they've actually gone through, the other 60 pages, something bigger needs to happen. But just, it's kind of like a nice little, what do they call it when you've got just a rope to lead you through like the fog. Something nice to hold on to, when I know I'm going to get there, I just got to find the road there. They're all my tricks. That's all my bull crap that I bought. That's all my stuff that I've learned and stuff that I enjoy. That some of you do and some of you don't, and some of you like and some of it you don't. That's that, and I'm happy to have shared it and to have shared with my mom. Whoever's listening. And I'm going to wrap up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Please don't cry. Okay. I'm going to wrap up. This workshop will be available on the writerplay.co.uk website from late next week with the captioning. Please do join us again on Saturday the 8th of April at 12:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for the first of our international workshops. Tune in to the Delhi-based workshop. You know what, I'm going to start again with that. Tune in to the Delhi-based workshop on to join playwright and theatre director Abhishek. I should have learned how to say his surname, and I know him really well, and he's a flipping dude, and he's a Jinzavika. Can I learn how to say his name, please, before I say this? Oh no, I have to do it live. Okay. I'm going to stick with Abhishek, because that's how he introduced himself to me, as he discusses playwriting on the Indian subcontinent. Good night. And now I'm going to curl up and die.